So I am a week late with this, but it's here. So let's get into this coffee and conversation. So did you guys watch that show on Netflix, The Ultimatum? It is a reality show where these couples come on and basically one person out of the couple give their partner an ultimatum. Either we get married or we're done. We go our separate ways. And so what happens is you have like 6 couples or whatever, and they end up swapping mates, dating someone else. It's almost like the couples break up, they date someone else and live with them, have like a fake marriage for a period of time, a few weeks, and then afterwards they go back to their mates. And then this time they get to see if, they can live life without their partner or if they really need their partner. And the person who was given the ultimatum decides if they are going to propose or accept a engagement or walk away. So I personally hate watch this show, but that means I watch it, but I am cringing the whole time because I am just like, you can't be serious. Y'all cannot be for real. I personally would not give my mate an ultimatum. I wouldn't give my partner an ultimatum. It's either we're going to figure out what we're doing, we're going to have a timeline, and we're going to work from there. But I'm never going to say to a partner, if we don't get married, then I'm leaving you. Or if you don't propose to me, then I'm leaving you. Because I feel like when you do that, you're forcing someone to do something that they don't want to do. Like you're making somebody do something that they don't want to do and they're not ready to do. And a lot of times people are putting up these ultimatums when there's cracks in the relationship. The foundation ain't even set. So why are you trying to force a move to the next step of dating when you're not even in a solid place in your relationship? Let me just tell you, marriage does not change people. Getting married is not going to make your relationship any better. All it's going to do is really just make those issues and those problems and trauma and all that stuff is just going to get bigger now that you're married, because now you're in this committed thing where you almost feel like you're stuck. And so I was just watching this show, and there's no spoilers or anything like that, but I was just watching the show, and the whole time I just kept asking, why would you want to marry someone that you had to basically threaten to marry you? Either marry me or I'm gonna leave. That's a threat. An ultimatum is a threat. Either marry me or I'm gonna leave. Either propose to me or I'm gonna leave. And it's just like, I cannot understand what would force a person to do that. A lot of times I've seen couples where that has happened, where it wasn't necessarily an ultimatum, but I've seen where someone has forced the other person, like, we got to get married, we need to get married, you got to marry me, I'm not going to be with you if you don't marry me. And the other person feels compelled, or like, well, I don't want to lose you, so I guess I have to marry you. And no way, no form, no shape, ready to be married. And so you end up pushing somebody's hand to marry you, and you end up being in a marriage that is not even good, because the person that you're married, they're not ready. They're not ready to be a husband, and they're not ready to be a wife. And they basically have the attitude is, I did this because you wanted me to. You got what you want, so let me live my life. It's basically the mindset that they have. Sometimes you might have a person who they need their little nudge, like they want to do it, but they just need that nudge to get it done. But a lot of times that's not the case. And so I would not. I don't want to start a marriage in that way where I'm like, you gotta marry me or not. And it's okay to have a timeline. I especially now, getting back into dating, and just from the mistakes that I made in my past relationship, one of the things that I always say, or one of my biggest regrets from my past relationship is that I didn't have a timeline, and I kind of went with the flow. On one hand, I almost was like, well, I'm not even tripping. Like, I I wasn't pressed to get married. And so we were together for a long time and it just ended. And that is one of my biggest regrets, is that I didn't set a timeline and I didn't clearly know what I wanted. Well, I take that back. I started with the idea of I didn't have to get married again because I felt like I didn't want to have kids. My kids were older, and so what would be the point of getting married? Now, in hindsight, I wish that I kind of regret having that mindset, and I don't now, because I'm also at the mindset of I'm not about to be just dating. If we're dating and we're just dating, or if we're in this serious relationship, what's next? We're just going to be in this relationship, and then what? Like, it has to be, marriage has to be the ultimate goal. It doesn't mean that we have to be getting married to have kids. We can be getting married to grow, to, build, grow old together, have have that your person with you as your age. That's where I'm at now with it. But that doesn't mean, even though that's my mindset now when it comes to relationships, that doesn't mean that I'm going to walk in, or I'm going to force my partner or my future partner to be like, well, if we don't get married, like if you don't marry me, if you don't propose to me, I'm leaving you. I'm giving you a timeline. And I also think that you wouldn't even have to get to that if you have a conversation and you really sit back and listen to your partner and see where their head is at. If you know in your heart of hearts that you're dating and that you want to get married, you want to build a family, or whatever the case may be, why would you even get into a serious relationship or start a relationship with someone who's either on the fence, they don't know, they have no idea what they want to do, and they just kind of like, well, I'm gonna just roll with it and go with the flow and see what happens. If that's what they're doing, you don't get into a serious relationship with them. You just don't. You don't date them and try to think that you're gonna change their mind down the line. If they're telling you that that's what they want, or that's where they're at, or if they're not telling you that they want to be in a relationship and they're dating to find their mate, then don't even start the relationship, and you wouldn't have to wait down the line. You've invested your time to turn around and be like, well, now I got to give you an ultimatum, because they told you up front where they was at. So I think that's one mistake that I think that if you can avoid having to even give an ultimatum, if you find someone and you date someone who's on the same on the same intention as yours. I am dating. I am looking for my mate. I want to get married. I want to find my life person. I want to find my person. That's how it should be. That way you don't have to force down the line of giving ultimatums or feeling like you wasted your time. And also, when it comes to time, your timeline might be the other person's timeline. And you can't force your timeline on someone else. If someone says that, if you're like, I want to date for so long, and then I want to be engaged for so long, and I want to be married for so long. If you have that timeline, then you can have it without forcing it on the other person. You can tell that to them, and that gives that person the chance to say, well, that's not the timeline I'm on, and y'all go and y'all meet somebody that's on that same timeline. You can have your timeline, but you don't have to force it. And if the person that you're with isn't meeting that timeline, even with dating, if you meet someone and you're dating and you say, this is how long I want to date before I decide if it's going to be serious. And if after you've done that in that time frame and nothing happens, you move on. And if you start dating somebody and y'all get into a relationship, okay, this is how long I want to be in a relationship before they're engaged or married. And if that happens and it's not in your timeline, you have to move on. I think a lot of times we end up not wanting to move on. We don't want to let go. We feel like we've invested so much time in a person that then we're now stuck with, now I got to give you an ultimatum. Now you're forcing that person, after being with them for so long, now you're kind of forcing them their hand and saying, well, now we have to get married. I think all of this can be avoided if you just have clear communications in the beginning. You're clear about what you want and your intentions, and you move with that. If this is your goal, you have to make sure that your steps make sense to reach that goal. If your goal is to get married, it doesn't make sense to date someone who's not sure about getting married. It doesn't make sense to be in a relationship with somebody who they're kind of like, we're just going to go with the flow and see what happens. It doesn't make sense to stay with somebody who's showing you that they have no intentions of marrying you. That's another thing. Sometimes it might not even be that they don't want to. They just don't want to marry you. And you're just their space filler. You're their time filler. You're just there in the meantime until they're ready and they find that person that they want to meet. So the show, you can watch it. It's on Netflix. Like I said, this wasn't a review about the show. It's okay. It's going to frustrate you. It's going to irritate the mess out of you. But that's all I got to say about that. But you're going to keep watching it. You're going to hate watch it. But ultimately, don't be giving people ultimatums. Let people live their life. See what they're going to do. Watch their actions. Words are great. Pay attention to the actions. And if their actions are showing you that they ain't interested, or they have the communication and the actions are showing that they not trying to get married, then move on. Find somebody else and move on. That's all I got to say. Thank y'all so much for watching. Again, my apologies for this being late. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about ultimatums. We could continue this conversation in the comments, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye.